Okay, Dennis Young here, Primitive Substance, Series 4, exploring the creative musicians, artists, authors. Real special guest today, Martha Mooke, who's pioneering electric violinist, violist, played with so many famous people, and a Grammy winner, no less. And Martha, thanks for coming on.
My pleasure, Dennis. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
So, how did you get interested in violin and exploring all this kind of music?
Um, so I actually started on the viola, which
Oh, okay.
because when the music teacher from the New York City public school system in Staten Island wanted to start a string program, and nobody knew what a viola was. Everybody wanted to play the violin. So I chose the viola. And
Oh,
actually, that is still my main instrument, although I add a fifth string. So it's actually a combination of violin and viola. So I started that back in fifth grade, I guess. I was 10 years old or something. And just started on the classical, tradition of playing scales and, and then getting around to playing Mozart and the classics.
right.
And it really wasn't until I was in high school, Tottenville High School, in fact, that a friend gave me an album by Jean-Luc Ponty, the
Oh, okay.
amazing jazz violinist, also working with electronics, and that was a game changer for me.
Hmm,
I
that is
just
great.
went down that rabbit hole exploring all of Jean-Luc's music and then any other electric string players, which mostly they were either in the jazz or some rock idioms, but I just wanted to take it all in, and that really was what started me on that journey.
Now, have you played in bands like in high school, like any orchestras or rock groups, or what? Were you playing with other musicians at that point? And,
Yeah, I mean, when I was in high school, I was playing in the school orchestra.
right.
They had a good orchestra program. They still do. I was playing also chamber music, string quartets,
Hmm.
and then I did play guitar. I was writing songs, sort of,
Oh,
but kept that very separate from my viola playing.
okay.
So
So that was a good lead into. Now, how did you get some of these breaks to play with these just fantastic players like a John Cale, a David Bowie, Barbra Streisand? I mean, the
yeah,
list goes on. It's fantastic.
I mean, I guess when I started out, I didn't really have a particular path in mind other than I loved music. I loved playing viola. And I was good at it, good
Oh,
enough,
you must be, yes.
and played with a lot of people. And New York City is kind of the center of the cultural world, as far as I'm concerned. I'm from New York City originally, and still am. Even that I'm in New Jersey, but that's a suburb,
Right.
And a lot of these people that I was meeting were also doing different styles of music, and so that is how you start making friends and connections, and they recommend you for things, and then you do good, you get recommended for more things, and that's sort of
Right.
and sometimes it's also being in the right place at the right time,
Of course.
which is how I met Tony Visconti, which is eventually how I met David Bowie. A friend of mine asked me to play on a gig backing up Cullen Blunstone from the Zombies.
Okay.
Many, many, many years ago. It was just a string quartet gig. And Tony Visconti and a bunch of other, noted musical people were there. And I ended up having a great conversation with Tony because he's a fabulous string arranger and bass player. And when I told him I also play electric viola, because I was starting to explore that by then, he said, let's stay connected. And so that was really, that led ultimately to being introduced to David Bowie and working with David.
So how was it like working with David? Did he give you like a lot of opportunity to play with you felt, or was there designed parts that you had to do on that record, Heathen?
Right. Well, I mean, the first time we played with David was actually at the Tibet House Benefit Concert at Carnegie Hall.
Oh man, that must have been great.
That was just a high,
Wow.
super high. I still look back on that, and I still have my favorite picture backstage.
Oh yeah.
And Tony did these wonderful arrangements. I got to play Heroes with, David Bowie, and I'm still.
Oh boy.
On the stage at Carnegie Hall, and Philip Glass was playing piano, and Moby was on guitar, and it was just surreal.
Can't get higher than that. Wow.
Yeah, totally.
That's the pinnacle of me playing with the top-notch people in the music business. I mean, that's really an honor and a privilege to be able to do that.
Totally. And that led to we played several more times with David at the Tibet House concert, because it's an annual event. And then that led to also David inviting me along with the quartet. And by the way, I brought the quartet together specifically to play with David.
Oh, okay.
Have an official string quartet, and it was David and Tony and Christine that gave us the name Scorchio while we were.
Oh, okay. I was wondering how you got the name. Okay.
Yeah, David came into the studio one morning and said, "Oh, we've all been talking, and we saw this. It was like a fake BBC news broadcast, and they had a fake weather, doing the weather reporting, and everything was so hot that it just said Scorchio, Scorchio, Scorchio."
Oh,
David came in and said, "We thought that you should be named Scorchio," so we became Scorchio.
Well, not only a great musician, but you have Tony Visconti, a very bright man. He knew to get the right players for the right records and the right. He's just a genius with that. That's what really made David so special.
Totally. So all the string arrangements were done by Tony. I did a couple of sessions with my electric viola, just sort of experimenting with things. And so some of that got in the album, and then some of that became other parts. But that was we spent several weeks, several months actually, because the starting point for the strings on Heathen actually coincided with the very same weekend of 9/11.
Oh my gosh.
It was that was also very surreal. And so we had a lot invested in that in terms of just feelings, emotions, and
oh yeah, the sorrow and the energy level in the city must have been an all-time low, for everything going on. So reflected in your energy playing, I'm sure. Everybody. Yeah. Oh, that's something. It's a very unique record. Did you guys get to do any tours with David with that after that, or did you play live shows?
No, we didn't tour with him. We did get to play some of the songs live, but we sort of went on to become sort of a niche ensemble where because Philip Glass was producing all the Tibet House Benefit Concerts,
right?
And so for 3 years we played with David, and then each year another one of the featured artists would ask to play with the quartet, because
okay.
No matter who you are going into Carnegie Hall you're surrounded by the ghosts and the history.
You are
of all that have performed on that stage. And so we, over the years, ended up playing with Iggy Pop and Lou Reed and David Byrne and Gogol Bordello and Laurie Anderson, who I've gone on to do a lot of work with as well.
Right.
And Trey Anastasio. We actually
I see that on your list.
Trey invited us a few years later to do an album with him, a live from Princeton. So it's Trey Anastasio, and we added a bass player, Scorchio.
Oh, okay. What was it like working with Trey? Was he pretty easy to work with?
Phenomenal musician.
And, I know that.
You know, really laid back. I remember we rehearsed in his living room for a week, and it was fabulous. And I was so impressed by his musicality and that he was experimenting with just rearranging chord structures and listening. He listened.
That's a big thing.
Yeah.
The great musicians know how to listen. They know dynamics like yourself, know when to come in loud, when to get soft, and it's an important factor. And that's why these people are great. I wanted to ask you about Barbra Streisand. That must have been interesting, right?
That's another high point in my career,
Wow.
And that directly came from me being a Broadway pit player.
Oh, okay.
So I was doing a lot of subbing on different shows. In particular, one that I was spending a lot of time playing was Wicked.
Oh, okay.
And, which I love. That it's a fabulous viola book. And this was 2006, I guess, and Barbra was putting that tour together, and the music director, she wanted a specific sound. She wanted the orchestra sound like a Broadway sound. And so a lot of us in the orchestra were called up from Broadway shows.
Interesting.
So it was her rhythm section from LA, and then it was the rest of the orchestra was from Broadway.
Oh my gosh, it's just a phenomenal voice, and it must have been really magical tour. How many shows did you play with her? Did you play?
We did two. We did the North American tour, which was US and Canada in 2006, and I'm looking at the poster right now.
Wow.
It was about 11 weeks, I guess, which we spent 3 or 4 weeks rehearsing and then doing some pre-shows. And playing in Madison Square Garden with Barbra Streisand was just...
Oh my gosh, that's a pinnacle too. Wow.
And the thing is that it was a 50-piece orchestra, which is pretty amazing that we all toured around with her. For that length of time, and we also did the following summer European tour.
Oh, see, that's a lot of musicians to
It
be on tour with, especially the same people. Usually, some artists have gotten local musicians to do those kind of gigs. But
yes, exactly, and I think. As far as we're concerned, it makes a difference when you have the ensemble that works together and they gel.
Oh yeah.
And there was a lot of love, between the members of the orchestra and our music director, Bill Ross. Oh. And just to be in the sound checks and the rehearsals, sometimes Barbra would come in and say, let's try this song. And then she'd say, well, can we try it in a different key? Or can we add some trumpets? And Bill would be like, just orchestrating in the moment, and then by the evening we would have the new charts.
Oh wow! So it was captured on those records, right? The one 2006 live in concert, yes. And Back to Brooklyn, right? So
Back to Brooklyn was a few years later. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But it was always just an amazing first-class experience.
I can imagine working with her. I mean, top of the line there too. I mean, fantastic voice and just really a great performer. And then you worked with Laurie Anderson, right, on a recent recording, Amelia, and have you done
Yes,
other stuff with her also? Other
yes.
music?
Um, so I guess I feel very fortunate in the career that I've had to be working with so many amazing artists, and
Yeah.
especially artists that have been such an inspiration to me throughout my career. And certainly Laurie, just being a string player, starting as a string player, and then just being such a creative voice. Uh,
Yeah.
I just was following her from my beginnings,
Right. Right.
and then about 20 years ago, because she was also doing the Tibet House Benefit Concerts, so then we kind of started doing some things together, and we really hit it off in terms of we use a lot of the same equipment. We play very differently, and so
Hmm.
it's just like a conversation when we play together. So we've even done we did a night at the Cafe Carlisle last year, just the two of us,
Oh, okay. Hmm.
which was a kick. And then a few weeks ago, I did something with her at City Winery, where she was interviewed by Anderson Cooper at
Oh boy. Okay.
Grammy Museum, and then I did some duo playing with her, and it's always very intense and just is a really special um, elevation of the musical spirit.
I imagine. So how do you get past if somebody you look up to and then all of a sudden you're playing with them? I mean, does it take a little while to get past that? Wow, I'm playing with
Yeah,
Laurie Anderson. I'm playing with Barbra Streisand. It must be quite something.
totally. And I don't take anything for granted. And
That's great.
I just um, never wanted to be that musician, like in a rehearsal in an orchestra that was always looking at their watch to see if it's time for a break or the end of the rehearsal. And so I really, even if I've played a show 50 times, um, I approach each show as it's unique. It's a unique experience because the audience is different and
Right. I
the
agree.
room is different, and the interaction with whoever is the featured artist, um, it's different as well, because maybe they had a really great dinner, or maybe they didn't, or maybe it's too hot,
Yeah.
so I think that keeps it fresh, that interaction. um, and then you kind of have to get over your fangirl thing. Really,
Right. I agree. I'm
if you
sure.
want to contribute and be part of the creative process, and be of value to whoever you're working with, you have to be in that zone, and so
Well,
you
I
figure it out.
think I'm seeing that in this series of interviews because I'm speaking to people that I've looked up to for many years. So I have to get past that also in this series. Wow, I'm talking to Phil Manzanera, or I'm talking to Richard Sinclair, or whoever it might be that like you're even playing, but this is even like an interview, same thing as being human beings trying to interact and
Yeah,
create something
yeah.
special.
It's I mean, to have all these experiences, and I specifically remember. I mean, I met David. He came to a show that I produced and played, and that was he came to hear me play, and that
Hmm.
was followed up for him asking Tony if I could put a string quartet together to play with him at the Tibet House concert. So I had met David briefly at that show that I was playing, but it was too overwhelming to take it in.
No, imagine.
And then when we went in for our first rehearsal for the Tibet House show, and I'm sitting in it was Philip Glass's studio, recording studio, and I'm sitting there next to David. He's got this green watch on, and I'm just thinking, oh my God, I'm sitting next to David Bowie, and we're
Yeah,
heroes, and what?
yeah, that's a moment, right? That sure it is. But that so let's talk about also how the Grammy Award you got. That was fantastic with Carla Patullo. There it is. Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh, that must have been quite an interesting night, right? And with all these celebrities and music Mongols there, all the big cheeses.
Because it's a whole process, actually.
Mm. Oh,
And
okay.
it was just, in fact, just a year ago that, we recorded the album the previous summer, and it was just one of those magical experiences where everything gels. It was, Carla and I had met each other years before, and we wanted to work together, and she was doing this album, which was written during the time when she was going through a really serious health crisis.
Hmm.
And coming through the other side. And so she wanted to have a special environment and energy in the room. And I was able to, bring the quartet in and find a wonderful studio to work in, Hobo Sound, and get the right people. And it just gelled.
Hmm.
And the music is fabulous. We all, contributed in parts of the as a quartet and soloists. And we knew it was a spectacular album. And then you never know if anything's going to take off or go anywhere from there.
Right.
But so fulfilled with how the music and that experience and the sound. And then, most people, they make an album, they submit it to the first round of the Grammys. And there's thousands and thousands of albums that get submitted for each of the categories. So you never know. But you say, hey, we have this album, please listen to it. And if you like it, maybe consider voting for it. And, it's only members of the Academy that can vote. And I remember, actually, I was recording with Laurie Anderson. I think it was November 10th last year. And it was one of the recording sessions for Amelia.
Right.
And I got a text from Carla that just said, Martha, and it had all kinds of exclamation points. And I'm like, what happened? She's like, we're nominated.
Oh boy.
And so it was the coolest thing. So I just had to stop and I don't have my phone on usually during recording sessions, but we were on a break, and I told Laurie, and it turned out that Laurie was also nominated as a producer on one of Lou Reed's historical albums that they.
Okay.
So it was kind of great timing, and Carla's a fan also of Laurie Anderson. So, this is another moment in my memory that will resound forever. And then you go through, you have 2 months being a Grammy nominee, and then the voting happens. And that's in the back, then you don't know what happens. And then there's all these festivities. A member of the New York chapter, they have a Grammy nominee celebration. And then if you're going out to the awards ceremony, it's like a week of parties and events, and it's pretty spectacular. And then the night before is the nominee celebration, and that's when everybody is celebrated. Because at that point, everybody's a winner.
Oh, that's great.
So it's a fabulous celebration and dinner and music and the whole thing, and then the next day is Grammy Awards Day, and so. What most people see, the CBS broadcast is really the tip of the iceberg. Only a very few Grammys actually get awarded at that time.
Right. I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah. So earlier in the day, there's a 4-hour parallel ceremony where like 90% of the awards are presented. And it's a very nice ceremony as well. And they've been streaming it. So, my family was watching, and the category came up, and we were called. And I had my sister was my date at the Grammys.
Oh, that's funny.
So she caught the very moment they said, the winner is Carla Patullo, and so She Howls and the Scorchio Quartet and Tonality, and we all screamed, and made the line down to go to the stage, and it was just like walking on air.
I imagine. What's that moment like, looking out at all those people, and then you're actually, the winner of this, all these people that are trying to get there.
It is very surreal, and I kind of, as I'm popping up, from my seat, and I'm thinking, wow, from now on, I am a Grammy winner. And, not that I needed that to know, for back up to know that who I am as a musician. And certainly I've been in the industry for a long time, but that doesn't, that doesn't make for guarantees that you're going to get recognized in any particular way. And but it is reaffirming in a way to be recognized by your peers,
right?
And and now that I'm also in academia, I'm a professor at New Jersey.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that.
I created a whole new program, but being peer reviews is a very important thing in academia. And so that, I guess, is kind of the closest that I can, associate in the music industry, as being recognized by your peers. And so it was just a fabulous experience.
So talk about this, the master's and bachelor program you run, and how that works for especially students out there that want to get involved with this.
Yeah, that also came out of organically my career path, being originally classically trained, but then having an interest in all different styles of music, and having the opportunity to try to play in different styles, and recording sessions in Broadway, and then doing some hip hop just because somebody had my name. So, went and did some sessions, but then learning on my own, basically, about electronics. Like when I started listening to Jean-Luc Ponty, I had my parents take me down at that time, 48th Street in Manhattan was the music street, and Manny's and Sam Ash and all that.
Right, I remember that row.
So my folks drove me down there, and I bought my first electric violin, which was one of the ones like he was playing, like Jean-Luc Ponty was playing, and I got a couple of effects units. And at that time, there weren't that many pedals, like guitar players have pedal boards,
right?
And we're rack mounted, which I keep here for, I don't know if you can. There we go. So that was one of my first. I would schlep that around.
I see that.
The Lisa's Quadriverb and the Lexicon Jam Man.
Oh, okay.
And then ultimately making connections. I got happened to meet folks in Yamaha at that time. Were just starting to create the electric strings that they are now so well known for. And I got in there, as they say, on the ground floor, and worked with them and the design team in Japan on creating new kind of electric string instruments. And so all of that together, and then kind of working with friends in like in the basement, and experimenting with improvisation, because I never really officially studied improvisation. I never studied jazz. I didn't study composition, but from my aspect as a viola player in the orchestra, a lot of the great composers were viola players, and you hear everything that's going on around you, and then have also the freedom to. There was really no music that had been written for electric viola at that time.
Oh, okay.
I was also creating the repertoire.
Oh.
As well as asking my composer friends to help create repertoire. So along the way, I always felt like, wow, I wish that I had been able to study this in a school program.
Right.
At that time, the options were classical music training or jazz. but there was really, you couldn't really get into electronics. That was a whole different, genre. It had nothing, it was all about computers and synthesizers.
Right.
And so sort of combining all of those different worlds. And finally, I started to, just get different ideas together about if I ever had the opportunity to create a new program. And I did. 5 or 6 years ago, I was tapped, and again, it's sometimes it's just people that that appreciate you for what you're doing, and I
right
to help grow the string department at New Jersey City University, and I took that as an opportunity to, rather than recreate a classical program, to create a new program like I had always wanted to go to.
Oh, wow.
And little did I know what the work that would be involved in, actually creating a program. But I love the challenge. And so I set to the task of writing, curriculum and syllabus. And so the grad program we're in our 5th year, and we've had some amazing musicians, string players from all over the world.
Oh, okay.
Come through, because it's a different experience. They're coming, yes, they're going to get the music classes that are offered at the university, but they're also going to get the experience of working with myself and with the world-class faculty, Regina Carter, Jeremy Kittle, Dave Egger, Joe Denenzone, who's now on tour with Kansas. And as we people are interested it's multi-style strings. All styles are welcome. Collaborations are welcome.
Oh, that is something.
I encourage mistakes and experimentation.
Yeah, right.
And so it's a different approach than, typical or traditional music programs. My students get to come when I play at Carnegie Hall, and they get to sit in on the sound check or dress rehearsal, or they get to shadow me. When I played with Laurie Anderson at the Carlisle last year, a bunch of my students were there. They came.
Oh, that is really something.
Set up, and then they got to watch the show, and so they're getting that firsthand experience, and that you just can't get by sitting in a classroom.
No, absolutely not. And you really know how to improvise. I listened to some of your records on Bandcamp, and it really plays such great avant-garde. You're experimenting with all different sounds. That's a hard thing to do, unless especially if you're coming from a background of just reading scores.
Yeah.
And then going right to improv, it's not an easy thing to adjust to. I mean, you're doing a big service by giving these young artists how to do this.
Yeah.
Open themselves up.
Totally. Thank you for acknowledging that.
Oh, absolutely.
Because as a classical player, when I do a lot of workshops for classically trained musicians, and I kind of start the whole process with a joke, which is not really a joke. It's like, how do you get a classical player to stop playing? You tell them to improvise.
There you go.
They can't put their instrument down fast enough.
Right.
And so to start working with them, that it's okay not to play everything perfectly like you've been taught in conservatory or taught in orchestra. Yes, you're being hired to play the notes that Mozart wrote, or the Beethoven, or whoever. But you also, as a musician, have the opportunity to explore your own creative voice within that, and that's also a big part of what my program is helping tap into whatever the skill level of the player. Everybody's got a creative soul.
I agree. And
it's just a matter of knowing how to kind of let it out. Where's that tap that you let it out?
Right. That's true.
And so it's a little, it's more labor intensive, I think, I spend a lot of time one-on-one with a lot of the students, because that's what I'm after. That's what I've been able to find within myself, and this is why I call myself a creative instigator. Is helping others find that creative voice and how to bring it to the surface.
Right, that's the key right there. So let's talk about what are you going to be working on? I guess we're going to be running out of time soon. I don't like to work too long with these shows. We could always do a second part someday. But what are you working on now and into 2025? What's some of the projects you're looking at?
So we've got some recording projects. We're just in the studio with Tenzin Chergal, who's a wonderful Tibetan musician that we've worked with for many years. And there's going to be that album will come out in 25. We're about to go into the studio again with Carla.
Oh, that's great.
For the follow-up album. So again, all about the vibe and the material and the beingness in the studio. So we've got that, and then I've got another album that it's sort of a duo with different friends and musicians that I've loved working with over the years and exploring our creative voices together. So that's still in the works, and performances, and then
yeah, you're very busy. That's great.
Yeah, and being a full-time professor, I'm adjusting to that life as well, and trying to keep the balance between my artistic side, creative language and creative thinking, and how to make that meld into the academic world.
Right.
Because I don't want to lose any of that, but I'm intrigued and challenged by being in academia. And I have wonderful colleagues at the university that I'm working with and collaborating with.
Oh, that's important.
It's very important.
Wow.
And I can't even say how, the impact that has by having people that I speak a little bit of a different language, and they love it, and they're embracing of it, and I'm embracing of what they know. And so collaborating, whether it's in one department or whether it's between different departments, and the community, you never know where that's going to lead to.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's led that all these opportunities have come your way, but you've worked hard for it. You've had some great breaks, but you've taken advantage of those breaks and created some wonderful music. You really have. It's been what a career, and it's really been great speaking with you. Where can they find your music besides Bandcamp? Is there a website that they can follow you on?
Yeah, so I do have my own website, www.marthamooke.com.
Right.
And there'll be news is posted there of concerts. I also do a lot of workshops and conferences, educational, still doing a lot of that. But we have some shows coming up with the quartet.
Oh.
And so there's videos. I have a YouTube channel. So
I've seen some of those. Yep.
You can look on that, and I always say you can Google me.
I will. I'm going to try to catch one of your shows for sure. I live in central New Jersey. I'm about an hour from New York.
Okay, well,
not far.
December 11th at New Jersey City University in Jersey City. We're playing the album. We're playing the So She Howls.
Oh, okay.
So please do come and be our guest.
I'm going to try. I'm going to try to make it.
Yeah, and Instagram at Elec Viola, ELEC Viola. So
okay.
Follow me, send me a message, my work is on most of the streaming services as well, and but I'm a very DIY artist, musician.
Right.
So I still, coming through Bandcamp and being really close with the audience means a lot to me, and having
Yeah.
interaction. So this has been such a fabulous conversation, Dennis.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been fabulous with you. I mean, you're such a talented artist. I'm so glad you came on the program, and this has been a great series, and you've added to this also. So it's been wonderful, and I'll try to catch your show coming up, and
Awesome.
hopefully we can stay in touch. And it's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, take care. Be well.
You too, Martha.
Bye-bye.
You too. Take care now. Bye.